Time Traveler's Tales, the podcast that transports listeners on an enthralling journey through history. Each episode delves into a diverse array of topics, from the complexities of ancient civilizations and the evolution of dinosaurs to the cultural significance of video games. With captivating storytelling and a talent for uncovering fascinating details, this podcast makes history both educational and entertaining. Join us as we explore the stories and events that have shaped our world. This is Time Traveler's Tales, Episode 3, The History of Canada. Welcome, travelers, to another journey through time on Time Traveler's Tales. I'm your host, Sofia Carter, and today I'm thrilled to introduce our new host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Fitzpatrick, and I'm incredibly excited to join the team as the new host of Time Traveler's Tales.
For those who have been with us from the beginning, you know that Riley Ray has been a constant presence. Unfortunately, he will no longer be hosting the show, as he's chosen to focus on being an executive producer. So he will still be here, just behind the scenes.
So, in honor of our first host, we're embarking on a journey through his home country, the rich and diverse history of Canada. From its Indigenous roots to its emergence as a modern nation, Canada's story is as vast and varied as its landscapes. Our story begins thousands of years before European explorers ever set foot on this vast land. Long before the arrival of the first settlers, the land that we now know as Canada was already home to thriving Indigenous peoples, including the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. Let's take a closer look at each of these remarkable groups and their unique contributions to the tapestry of Canadian history. First, let's explore the First Nations peoples. From the towering forests of the West Coast to the rolling hills of the East, First Nations communities developed intricate and diverse societies long before contact with Europeans. In the West, the Haida people were renowned for their complex art and totem poles, which told stories and celebrated their rich heritage. Their societies were highly organized, with sophisticated governance systems and vibrant trade networks that connected them with neighboring communities.
Traveling eastward, we encounter the Mi'kmaq, whose rich culture was equally remarkable. The Mi'kmaq lived in the forests and along the coast, developing a deep knowledge of the land and sea. Their elaborate trade networks extended across what is now eastern Canada, facilitating a robust exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices. Moving north to the Arctic, we find the Inuit, who adapted to one of the harshest climates on Earth. The Inuits' innovations in hunting, clothing, and shelter were nothing short of extraordinary. Their ingenious designs, such as the igloo and the kayak, were essential for survival in the freezing temperatures of the Arctic. The Inuits' deep connection to their environment is reflected in their art, stories, and communal way of life.
Lastly, let's delve into the Métis, a distinct cultural group that emerged from the unions between European fur traders and Indigenous women. The Métis culture is a vibrant blend of both European and Indigenous traditions. Their unique heritage is characterized by a rich tapestry of language, customs, and practices. The Métis people played a crucial role in the fur trade and the exploration of Canada, contributing significantly to the nation's development. The European exploration and colonization.
The arrival of European explorers, a momentous turning point in the 15th century. Picture this. It's 1497, and John Cabot, sailing under the English flag, becomes one of the first Europeans to set foot on the eastern shores of what is now Canada. His voyage marks the beginning of European exploration in this new world, though it would take some time before this land would be fully charted and understood.
Fast forward to the 16th century, and we encounter Jacques Cartier, a key figure in the story of Canada. Cartier, commissioned by France, embarked on his first voyage in 1534. His exploration took him through the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and he claimed the land for France. It was Cartier who named the territory Canada, a term derived from the Iroquoian word Kanata, which means village. This name would go on to represent the vast territory he had explored, and eventually, the nation itself.
Now, let's fast forward to 1608, a pivotal year in Canadian history. Samuel de Champlain, often hailed as the father of New France, founded Quebec City. Champlain was instrumental in establishing a strong French presence in North America. His efforts didn't just focus on colonization, he also forged important relationships with Indigenous peoples, laying the groundwork for French influence in the region. These alliances were crucial in navigating the complex dynamics of early North American colonization.
The story takes a significant turn in 1670 with the establishment of the Hudson's Bay Company. This was a major development as England sought to dominate the fur trade in the region. The company extended British influence over vast territories, shaping the economic and political landscape of what would become Canada. Each of these events, John Cabot's exploration, Jacques Cartier's claim, Samuel de Champlain's founding of Quebec, and the Hudson's Bay Company's fur trade dominance, played a crucial role in the development of Canada. They set the stage for the diverse and dynamic country we know today.
The era of conflict and change. The 17th and 18th centuries were a period of significant upheaval and transformation in Canada. This era saw European powers clashing over control of this fertile and resource-rich land, while Indigenous nations displayed incredible resilience and tenacity in the face of foreign encroachment. The 7 Years' War was a global conflict that raged from 1756 to 1763. This war wasn't just a struggle between armies. It was a colossal game of chess played across continents, with France and Britain as the primary players. The war's North American theater, known as the French and Indian War, culminated in one of the most pivotal battles in Canadian history, the Battle of the Plains of Abraham.
The Battle of the Plains of Abraham, fought near Quebec City in 1759, was a turning point that sealed the fate of New France. British forces, led by General James Wolfe, faced off against the French under General Louis-Joseph de Montcalm. The battle was fierce and decisive, with the British emerging victorious. This defeat led to the British conquest of New France, dramatically altering the region's political landscape. But the impact of this conquest didn't stop there. The Treaty of Paris, signed in 1763, marked the official end of the 7 Years' War. In this treaty, France ceded most of its North American territories to Britain. The map of North America was redrawn, setting the stage for new conflicts, alliances, and the evolving relationships between European powers and the Indigenous peoples.
To address the new political reality and to stabilize relations with the Indigenous peoples, King George III issued the Royal Proclamation of 1763. This proclamation was a landmark document, aimed at recognizing and protecting the land rights of Indigenous nations. It established a clear boundary between colonial settlements and Indigenous territories, which was intended to prevent further encroachment and conflicts. The Royal Proclamation was a significant, though imperfect, step towards acknowledging Indigenous sovereignty and laying the groundwork for future negotiations and treaties. However, as we'll see soon, the struggle for Indigenous rights and the complexities of colonial policies would continue to shape Canada's history.
The path to Confederation. The path to Confederation begins with a conflict that would prove to be a defining moment in Canadian history, the War of 1812. This war was fought between the United States and British North America, which would later become Canada. The conflict arose from tensions over trade, territorial disputes, and the impressment of American sailors by the British Navy. Though the War of 1812 was not a war that Canada itself initiated, it became a crucible for forging a Canadian identity. The British and Canadian forces, along with their Indigenous allies, faced off against American troops on various fronts. One of the most celebrated figures of this war is Laura Secord, a Canadian heroine. Laura's brave actions during the conflict, including her perilous journey to warn British forces of an impending American attack, cemented her status as a symbol of Canadian bravery and resilience.
The war concluded with the Treaty of Ghent in 1814, and while it did not lead to significant territorial changes, it was instrumental in solidifying a sense of national identity in British North America. This newfound unity and the desire for a more structured government would soon lead to even greater changes. Fast forward to July 1st, 1867, a landmark date in Canadian history. This was the day the British North America Act came into effect, uniting the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia into the Dominion of Canada. This momentous occasion marked the birth of a new nation within the British Empire. The British North America Act was a key step towards Confederation, a process that brought about a more organized and self-governing entity. Sir John A. Macdonald, who would become Canada's first Prime Minister, played a crucial role in orchestrating this union. His vision for a united Canada set the foundation for the country's future growth and development.
Confederation was not just a political maneuver, it was a profound shift in how the people of these colonies perceived themselves and their place in the world. The new Dominion of Canada was poised to embark on a path of national growth and self-determination.
Expansion and development. As Canada embarked on its journey of nationhood, it faced a series of significant opportunities and challenges. One of the most pivotal moments in this process was the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885. Imagine the vast expanse of land stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific, with nothing but rugged terrain and untapped potential in between. The Transcontinental Railway was more than just a feat of engineering. It was a lifeline that connected the country's coastlines, opening up new avenues for trade, travel, and settlement.
This ambitious project wasn't just about connecting two oceans, it was about forging a united nation from a series of disparate territories. The railway facilitated economic growth and played a crucial role in the expansion of Canada's borders. With this newfound connectivity, settlers could move more freely and resources could be transported efficiently, which spurred development across the nation. Speaking of expansion, let's look at the territories that joined Confederation during this transformative period. In 1870, Manitoba became a part of Canada, followed closely by the Northwest Territories, which were also incorporated that same year. This was a momentous step in broadening Canada's geographical and political landscape.
Then, in 1871, British Columbia joined the Confederation, further extending Canada's reach from coast to coast. These additions were not merely geographical. They were integral to the development of Canada's national identity and infrastructure. Each new region brought its own unique characteristics, contributing to the rich tapestry of what we now know as Canada. But not all aspects of Canada's growth were straightforward or uncontroversial. The treaty process with Indigenous peoples was intended to manage relations and establish terms for coexistence. However, the history of these treaties is complex and, at times, deeply troubling.
One of the darkest chapters in this history is the residential school system. These schools, which were part of the broader treaty framework, were established with the goal of assimilating Indigenous children into Euro-Canadian culture. The legacy of this system is a painful one, marked by systemic abuse and cultural suppression. The impacts of residential schools have left lasting scars on Indigenous communities, and Canada continues to grapple with the repercussions of this era.
The World Wars and Modern Era. Let's begin our exploration with the dramatic era of World War I. This monumental conflict, which erupted in 1914 and persisted until 1918, saw Canada step onto the world stage in a remarkable way. Our soldiers didn't merely participate, They fought with immense bravery and determination. One battle in particular stands out for its profound impact: the Battle of Vimy Ridge in 1917. This victory was not just a tactical triumph, but a defining moment in Canadian history. Vimy Ridge became a symbol of national pride and sacrifice, and it's often credited with helping to forge a unique Canadian identity, distinguishing us from our British roots.
Moving forward to World War II, which began in 1939 and lasted until 1945, Canada once again played a crucial role on both the battlefield and the home front. Our contributions were significant, with Canadian forces participating in pivotal battles such as the D-Day landings and the liberation of Europe. The collective effort during this period united Canadians across the nation and reinforced a sense of national unity and identity. In addition to these global conflicts, Canada made significant strides toward greater autonomy. In 1931, the Statute of Westminster was enacted, marking a key moment in our journey towards full sovereignty. This landmark legislation granted Canada legislative independence from Britain, allowing us to make our own laws without British approval. It was a pivotal step in our evolution as a nation, signaling a new chapter in Canadian history.
The post-war era ushered in a period of prosperity and transformation. The economic boom of the 1950s and 1960s brought new opportunities and an improved standard of living for many Canadians. During this time, we also saw major advancements in social policy. The introduction of universal healthcare in 1966 revolutionized our approach to medical care, ensuring that every Canadian had access to essential services regardless of their financial situation. In 1969, the passage of the Official Languages Act recognized both English and French as official languages, reflecting our commitment to bilingualism and multiculturalism.
As we entered the latter part of the 20th century and moved into the 21st century, Canada continued to evolve. From 2020 to 2024, we faced new challenges and opportunities. Issues such as climate change, the quest for quality of life, Indigenous reconciliation, and the impacts of a global pandemic have all been at the forefront. Despite these challenges, Canada remains a beacon of diversity and progress, continually striving towards a more inclusive and equitable society. As we reflect on Canada's journey, we see a country celebrated for its breathtaking landscapes, rich cultural mosaic, and unwavering dedication to peace and inclusivity. From the ancient Indigenous civilizations that first shaped the land to the dynamic, diverse nation we know today, Canada's story is one of remarkable resilience, unity, and progress. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Canada's past. We hope you've enjoyed uncovering the stories and events that have shaped this remarkable country. I'm your host, Victor Fitzpatrick.
And I'm Sofia Carter. Until then, keep traveling through time, and remember, the past is always present in the stories we tell.
I hope you enjoyed episode 4 of Time Traveler's Tales, where we dived into the history of Canada. Just a quick heads up. New episodes will be released every Monday on major streaming platforms and YouTube. Let's turn Mondays into something special together. And once again, thank you for welcoming me into the T3 family.